Hello everyone, I'm back, and it's time for the Knights hype train. Because of this hype train, I'm going to show you how to magnetize and light up all your knights. So sit back in your throne mechanicum and let's get started. Also, these techniques really don't apply to knights only. You can be extra with your models however you want if you put the time and effort into it. There are many ways we can be extra with our models. It could be adding subtle shades and color transitions to your models. It could also be spending hours filing and sanding down all the gaps on a model that you probably shouldn't have. Or it could be magnetizing the ever-living shit out of everything because there are so many options and you don't want to buy a lot of the same model just to get all the customization options. I have Imperial Knights and a Titan. Know my pain. It could even be adding cool additions like lights and smoke. So this then gave me the idea for my knights that I have been putting off building for ages. Still no idea when I'm going to paint them though. And if you've watched my previous stuff, I'm sure you're starting to see a pattern here. I swear it's not a problem. And because I want to cash in on that Imperial Knights hype train with the algorithm, I'm going to show you how to magnetize and add lights to all your knight models if you own the same ones as I do. So before we start, short disclaimer. By proceeding to watch the rest of this video, and if you decide to do what I have done, I am not legally responsible for any injury caused as a result of said hobby project. Some of the injuries may include cut fingers, soldering burns, spontaneous wall-like combustion, heat burns, glued together fingers, stabbed by a drill bit, body parts smashed by very strong magnets, crippling debt, and any other thing I couldn't think of. And because I don't want this video to go on for too long, it's time for a 30 seconds or less lightning lock round. Also, quick tip, see this portion right here? All the plastic knights allow you to put a magnet under this part. So let's begin. Lightning round, go! For the Armigers torso, use two 8x1mm magnets, and for the arms, you can use one 5x1mm magnet right here and clip off this part and drill out a space for another 5x1mm magnet. And for the carapace weapons, put a 2x1mm magnet right here. And make sure the magnets are in direct contact for a stronger pull force. This goes for all the weapons on every single knight. For the Questoris pattern knights, these take a bit more work, especially if you want the option to run it as any knight. For the torso, use two 8x3mm magnets. For the arms, 6x1mm magnets, and recess the lower arm with green stuff. For the carapace weapons, drill out a 5x1mm magnet slot right here, and you can place a 5x1mm magnet here inside the weapons. For the missile launcher and arms, I had to get a bit creative, and I recommend 5x1mm magnets right here too. Next is the Dominus pattern knights. Same story, use 8x3mm magnets for the torso, and weapons also use the 6x1mm magnets. But this time, cut here, and you can shave out a large enough space, or you can just glue them on top of them. For the carapace guns, since we don't want them to fall over, put a 3x1 magnet right here, and then a 6x1mm magnet right here and here. And now on to the Forge World Knights. The only Cerastus pattern knight I own is a Castigator, so here's what I did. For the torso, I used 12x6mm magnets since they're not going to be in direct contact with each other. I put one inside the torso and drilled out the other into the ball at the legs. For the weapons, I drilled out some 6x2mm holes for the weapon attachments, and for the torso to the arm attachment, I used 12x2mm magnets. And because I like everything to be easy to transport, for the belt feed, I used 3x1mm magnets right here and here. And now it's time for the final knight, the Chunky Knight, or the Porphyrion. Since this was my first Forge World model, I did use some magnets that I probably shouldn't have, but they work because the pull force is just enough. So the only thing I'd really change about it if I were to build another one is just use a 12x6mm magnet in the torso. With the magnet cannons, because I wanted those also to be magnetized, I had to get a bit creative, so I used some 12x2mm magnets like this, and because I wanted the missile bay door to close, I made a mechanism like this using 3x1mm magnets. And to also be able to swap out the missiles, I used 2x1mm magnets. Then finally for the smaller guns, I used 3x1mm magnets right here and here. Then these magnets right here were actually done pretty recently. I used 5x1mm magnets right here, and I'll explain why I did this right now, which is adding lights to every single knight model. Oh boy, more work. So here's a quick tip for the plastic knights. Before you glue the heads together, I suggest you clip right here and right here. Also, depending on the size of the LED, you might actually have to drill out the back of the head a bit more. Next, drill out all the eye sockets with the appropriate drill diameter. Here are the diameters for each knight along with the associated face. Then finally drill out a hole right here behind the knight's head and make sure they line up. Also, because you might need to service the LEDs in the future, I suggest putting some pins right here for the Questoris and Dominus knights. Also, this is very important. Do not, I repeat, do not glue the carapace armor on. We are leaving this off because we want to access the space inside to hide the electronics and fiber optics. And now it's time for the list of electronic parts I use to make my stuff light up. First, I used an LR44 battery holder, a simple on-off switch, some heat shrink tubing, electrical tape, and a really bright LED. And because Amazon doesn't sell the correct fiber optic sizes, I linked them in the description. And fiber optic size coincides with the drill bit size. So because I'm a master when it comes to electronics, we're doing a simple series circuit, but a very small one. because there's little room inside of an Armiger. So no switch since I couldn't find a really small one. Also, almost forgot, you're gonna need a heat gun. Why? Because we need to straighten the fiber optics and also heat up the ends to make them look like lenses. So make sure you have a pair of pliers handy and hold the fiber optic like this so you only heat up the end. Also, you should probably sand it down lightly because we don't want to flashbang ourselves every time we turn it on, because sanding down both ends actually does help to diffuse the light and actually makes it look a lot better. And unless you've already painted everything, don't glue the fiber optics in, unless you want to have the headache of having to do it all over again. Now for the Forge World stuff, it's the same story, but a little bit more tricky. Since with the Castigator, you should probably cut the throne out of the cockpit before you glue it, which I didn't do because unlike the CHONK Knight, you can access the space below it once it's all glued up. And because I didn't do this, I had to drill it out. And yeah, resin's really sharp. Then drill out a hole right here and also in the head for the LED to go through. And hey, if it's tight enough, you don't even have to glue it, since we also have to be able to fix the lights if anything goes wrong. And then finally for the CHONK Knight, you should probably also magnetize this part right here I mentioned earlier. This allows easy access to the fiber optics and lights in case anything ever goes wrong. Also, I feel the need I should mention that none of the electronics are permanently fixed inside the Knight, in case it ever needs to be removed for service. And that's how you magnetize and light up all your Imperial Knights. And now you know my pain. Also, since I know some of you are going to ask where I got the third-party parts on my Valiant, I got them from TaroModelMaker. You should go check out his stuff. There's a lot of cool Knight customizations. Also, if you want to repose the Dominus Knight legs since monopose, gross, use some 1/8 inch polystyrene tubes cut here and glue it together and make it look flush. For the Questoris Knights, I linked a guide because that takes more effort than a Dominus, and I didn't do it to my first Knight either. Anyways, thanks for watching. Follow my Twitch channel since I'm starting to stream more often and on a weekly basis, and also because me and my game group started to play Wrath and Glory again, and I'm planning on making animated shorts in the near future like I do in some of my other videos. Follow my various social media accounts, I have been more active lately on some of them. Also check the community tab on YouTube, since I also post updates there on a weekly basis. Let's see how long that lasts. And finally, don't forget about the basic YouTube pandering. Like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell to see when a new video goes live, since I'm probably going to be doing more than one video a month in the near future. Once again, thanks for watching, and I hope you'll tune in next time. And now if you'll excuse me, the hype train is leaving the station.